Good morning, everyone. Thank you for inviting me here today. I would like to add my support to the previous petitioners. As Deputy Mayor of my Spanish village, I know of the distress caused by the Asset Declaration Law. My petition covers two aspects of the disenfranchisement of European citizens. The first is the current British law denying the vote in national elections to UK citizens after they've lived abroad for 15 years, which has led to much campaigning with a number of petitions to this committee. The European Commission has responded to the many complaints, and ex-Commissioner Reding included the issue in the 2013 Citizenship Report, subsequently informing the countries involved of the need for action. This pressure has had some effect, as in September the ruling Conservative government announced that if they win the next election, they will extend a full right as a British citizen to vote in British elections for life. This is positive news, but not good enough. The government will not change the law to allow us to vote in next year's general elections, stating it has no immediate plans to alter the legislation. So future change is dependent on the outcome of the next election and completion of electoral promises. No mention is made of whether the law would be amended in time to give British citizens living in EU countries a vote in a potential referendum on EU membership, as national franchise has been stated as a prerequisite for inclusion. So as it stands today, we still have no vote and could be excluded from a crucial referendum on whether Britain stays in or out of the European Union. My petition also describes the disenfranchisement of the many thousands of people living in other European countries who have no vote in national or regional elections, despite living, working and paying taxes in these countries. I live in Spain, where I can only vote in European and municipal elections, even though as a councillor for nearly 8 years I have the obligation to uphold national and regional laws in which I have no say. Shocking as it is that I have not been able to vote in any national election for 10 years now, what is even more inconceivable is that my 3 adult daughters, co-signatories on this petition, have come of age, work, pay tax and contribute to Spanish society, but have no vote, either in Spain or in Britain. This second generation of EU migrants, whose parents have enjoyed the benefits of freedom of movement, is thus completely disenfranchised in their country of residence, an unacceptable and discriminatory consequence. With the mobile nature of the European workforce, the urgent need to strengthen our democratic processes and rebuild trust in our institutions and representatives, it is vital that all European citizens can vote in national elections and hold their governments to account. It is frankly intolerable that workers all over the Union cannot vote where they work and pay tax and have a stake in that country's future. Freedom of movement gives us rights to live, study, work, obtain transferable benefits and healthcare. It should also give us the right to a transferable vote. I envisage a solution comparable to the European election system, where we can choose to vote either in our country of nationality or our country of residence, signing an intention to vote form which confirms this choice. Thus, people who maintain close financial, cultural and political links to their home countries can continue to vote there. But those emigrants who've made their lives in another member state, even being born or raised there, should be able to choose to vote in their country of residence. The Commission recognised the need for action on this issue in its 2013 report, quoting the figure of 72% of respondents who agreed it is justified for people to vote in their country of residence, adding, "The Commission will examine ways to enable EU citizens to participate in national and regional elections in their country of residence." The opinion of the Legal Affairs Committee on this aspect of the petition concluded that the Commission's recognition of this disenfranchisement provides the conditions to proceed with an initiative to add these voting rights to the list of EU citizens' rights under Article 20 of the TFEU, using the procedure laid down in Article 25.2. It further adds that the Parliament could make use of the means it has at its disposal under its rules of procedures in order to raise the issue with other institutions and member states. Thus, I am asking MEPs, the Parliament and the Commission to take all such possible action to support this petition's aims, keeping it open while solutions are examined. My son is 18 next February. Like his sisters and many thousands of others, he just wants to vote and not feel like a second-class citizen in Europe. I trust that you will help us achieve this most basic democratic right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Chair. And I would just like to speak in support of the petition and in support of the quite large campaign across the EU to extend democratic rights. We've done a lot at European level to extend basic rights in terms of freedom of movement. We see a big agenda in the context of the exit of the crisis around labour mobility and encouraging people to move between European countries, and yet democratic rights are really behind the curve, and I think this is an issue which has reached a level of importance which we should take up as the Parliament. Just to say that there are specific countries, and mine is one of them, which has placed time limits on the democratic right to vote in national elections in the UK. If you're outside the UK for more than 15 years, you lose your right to vote in UK elections. I think as part of the range of actions proposed by the petitioners, we should also be asking for a response from the UK government in relation to those time limits, and perhaps other member states who've placed time limits on democratic rights. I think that's unacceptable. I heard that the government in the UK, current governing party in the UK, has placed it in its future manifesto to lift this time limit, but it would be interesting to know why they don't do it whilst they're in government before the elections, and they're waiting to a new government. And I'd just like to reiterate the public support for this. Nearly 2/3 of Europeans don't believe it's justified to block democratic rights. So I think we have a clear view from the jury committee. We have a number of actions which can be taken, and I just reiterate that I fully support the petitioners' proposals. Thank you.
Happy with that?
Yes, it went very well, didn't it?
Yeah. So we just thought we would do that ahead, because then we'll do the kind of what you said, and then your reaction to it afterwards.
Okay.
Well, what is your reaction?
Well, I'm very pleased with the support from the committee. We had interventions from a lot of MEPs from all countries. Jude spoke on behalf of the Labour Party, and they're taking the issue very seriously. Everybody seems to be taking it very seriously. And I think it is a question of democratic rights that now more than ever, because there's so much lack of faith in institutions, not just in Spain, but we see it in Britain, we see it all over Europe. The crisis has made people very worried about their futures, and they have a lack of confidence in their governments. And one thing that we can't have in Europe is that people don't have a right to say anything about those governments. So I'm really pleased with the support today, and I hope that we'll see some action, because one thing is having a good airing of the subject and having MEPs take it seriously, and the Parliament hopefully will take it seriously, but another thing is getting the results. So,
and I guess we're only 6 months out from the general election, so it would actually be possible for the government to say now that they'll implement the pledge that they've made in their manifesto for the general election.
I'm not sure about timing, whether it is actually possible if there were political will from all parties in Westminster, whether they could actually do the legislation before the next election. That would really show that they are interested in democracy, and that people can get their vote after the 15-year rule if it was scrapped. So that would be wonderful if we saw that happening.
It would. I think that would be a sign of absolute kind of commitment to their own manifesto as well, if they started putting it in place.
I mean, I know there are Westminster MPs who have also been campaigning, and it's been through amendments to the actual reform law last year. But so far we don't have anything concrete. So I ask all our British representatives to also work on the issue and see if we can come up with a solution.
Well, I think one of the great things here was that we're going to invite Timmermans to come and to represent from the top level, political level of the Commission, exactly what the Commission's doing, and that offers an opportunity to again look at how EU citizenship and citizens' rights are developed.
Yes, I hope that something good will come from that meeting. So I look forward to hearing about it.
Brilliant, and congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you for your support. It's been very good meeting you.
Thank you.
Thanks.